Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the WE Inceptus, designed by, I'm going to try Robert Senescalchi. I am probably not anywhere close to the proper pronunciation. I'm sorry about that. But that's the designer for this knife. Thank you so much to WE Knives for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Make sure your notifications are turned on for the Metal Complex YouTube channel. This is available. Base price of this knife is a little lower than I was very critical of the base price of this knife when I unboxed this, but there is a version of it where the base price is a little lower. So that's nice. I'll link all the versions of this down in the description so you guys can check them out if you want to. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. I think I just said that. We'll go ahead. There's a couple of things I want to talk about in this video that's more relating to WE Knives than this model itself, and we'll get to that. But first, let's go ahead and do specs. The overall length of this knife, it's not a small knife. It's not a massive knife either. The Inceptus coming in at about 8¼ inches. Blade length, 3.85. Cutting edge, it's like 3.65. Honestly, pretty good ratios there. Let's do some size comparisons. Any custom skills in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. Up against my own full-size Excalibur model. This guy is a little tiny bit shorter, just 1/4 inch. It looks exactly the same, but that's because of the camera angle. Obviously, my little guy, a lot shorter. Let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Almost exactly the same overall length as the PM2. PM2 looking a little shorter, but it is almost exactly the same. I'm going to measure this again. It almost looks like it's coming in closer to 8.5. Nope, it's 8¼ Okay. And then finally up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How is the action on this knife? It's good. You push the little tab. You can stop it right here on this little flat spot, turn it, and it will fall down into the closed position pretty much on its own. Reverse flicking feels good. This feels like typical WE. It's just not as tight. If you guys remember, years ago, all WE knives just came ultra tight. Not the case here. Feels pretty good. Doesn't quite feel like the WE Magic Sauce, but still like on par with what you would expect for this tier in the knife world, right? There's no lumpy, bumpy, or anything like that on the inside. The action feels good. The detent also feels good. Reverse flicking it is my preference. You can front flip it, and it's okay. I'm just not I think it's more so just I'm not the best at it, right? Access to the lock bar, I think, is pretty darn good. Lots of space in there, so that's nice. Got to really catch it right there so you don't have the sharpened edge come down on your finger. Carry profile, thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3, it's a hair thicker. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is kind of an odd shape of object to put in your pocket, but it's right there within the same lines as like the PM2. You're taking up not a whole lot more space in your pocket than the PM2. Bigger, of course, than the Para 3. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. We have a T8 pivot. We have a T8 lock bar insert screw. We have a T8 pocket clip screw. And your body screws are also T8. So that's nice. As long as you have the right tools for the job, it should be good to go. We're going to weigh it. What are we looking at for materials? M390, of course, because all of WE's knives are in M390. That's their only steel. M390 is fine if you heat treat it properly, which, in my opinion, WE's a little low. Taylor, I think, probably does have data on WE. At least I think he does. And maybe I'm making this up in my mind. I think WE Knives is a good example of one of those companies that lists it at 59 to 61. And then they often do actually hit it at 60 plus. Of course, Taylor, wherever he is in the comments, might have data that contradicts what I'm saying completely. But that's part of the reason why he's down there, so that we get the right info, right? I think WE Knives should be 60 plus. We shouldn't have any M390 blades at 59 point anything. 59.9, not good enough. 60 plus, good enough. That's what I think. But it'd be cool if we would use a different steel sometimes. Or a lot of the time. I know they've used Vanax in the past. I think they've used S45EN, S35EN, but my God, it is so rare. It's like 95 to 98% of the time it's M390. WE Knives should be the Chinese Spyderco. I mean, I think Kunwu is doing a good job of being the Chinese Spyderco in terms of steel choices and HRC, but the number of models that WE comes out with, like you guys should be experimenting with all sorts of different steels. I think that would really be a huge draw to WE Knives, right? I mean, I just can't imagine that WE is selling, the next $300 M390 knife as well as they did 3, 4, 5 years ago. If it comes a time where, WE is like, how do we get people more interested in our products again? Obviously, pricing is a big part of it. But geez, variety of steel is a huge one. And I really think you guys are missing the mark there. And it's not just WE Knives, it's a lot of different companies. They're missing the mark by tying themselves, marrying themselves to one or two steels. Something that people love about Spyderco is their willingness to just use steel. And they don't get everything right? But I mean, the fact that look at Kunwu. Kunwu loves to mess around with different steels. And people love them for it. WE Knives, do something else. This is no slight against the designer. I believe the designer has very few choices when it comes to using WE as the OEM. So anyways, we are looking at M390. We are looking at titanium. In this case, we're looking at aluminum foil carbon fiber, which is pretty cool. That's optional. There's a bunch of different versions of this. The weight comes in at 4 ounces, which is actually pretty darn good considering it's a 3.65-inch blade, wasn't it? What did I measure this at? 3.75. Pretty darn good. Balance, it's like right behind the pivot. Cool. Yeah, nice. Okay, so blade stock thickness. Let's do that next. I don't think it's an incredibly thick blade. There's the flat right there. Okay. 120 thousandths. All right, meat and potatoes time. Obviously, this is going to be a kind of a polarizing aesthetic. This is an aesthetic that was intentionally created this way because that's what the designer likes to make. It all kind of looks like, airplane windows or something in there. Some people love the 2-angle blades. Some people don't. If you don't, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, if I use this, then I'm going to have to sharpen 2 different angles. You can if you just want to maintain that. If you don't, just sharpen it through, like normal curvature. After a few sharpenings, you probably won't notice, right? There's always going to be that little change, right? That little dividing line right there. But as far as, if you really wanted to, you could just make this one continuous edge. So that's, that's more of like a thing that the end user gets to decide. I kind of think the dual edge blades look cool. It just depends on, it depends on your preferences. I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It always makes me think of like GTC. And I like interesting blades. I mean, I don't want every single blade to be tanto or drop point or clip point. No, thank you. I don't want my blades to sound like, the HP computer call-in menu. I don't want them to be. I don't want that basic, right? I mean, it's like Mega Man 1 boss selector. No. I want there to be, wild and crazy and weird, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't serve any utilitarian benefit, or even if it slows the user down, if it makes it less convenient. I don't care. We have convenience. Knife has been thoroughly figured out. Blade geometry has been thoroughly figured out. Nobody is going to take a utilitarian design in terms of the blade shape and somehow magically make it more utilitarian. It's going to be some element, some sort of augmentation, some difference in steel, or some combination of locking system that we can add and make things. But as far as basic, straightforward utility, functional blade shapes, ergonomic handle shapes, that planet has been thoroughly explored. It has been mined. It's been drained of resources. We have the info, right? So it's nice, given that the end result of that draining of resources and mining and going through and exploring that planet, the planet of basic utility and functionality. The end result of that is that our industry has been flooded, absolutely flooded, with more options than we could possibly imagine in the realm of basic, straightforward utility. So yes, I do want I do want there to be some wild and wacky crazy designs, because otherwise what I do would not be interesting. And I find this blade shape to be interesting. I also think it's pretty darn utilitarian. I mean, yeah, there's two edges, but honestly, it's just like a dual angle edge, or a dual edge sheep's foot is what it is. I mean, that's one of my favorite blade shapes, and for like general EDC, it's cool. You are going to get lint and stuff caught in these little windows. You just wipe it out, right, if you want to. It's got a nice satin finish on it. Looks good. There's the designer logo right there. At first, I thought it was like a dragon or a monkey, but it's an M and a K. The jimping up here is functional, and there's a nice little spot right here where you can rest your index finger. The edges are kind of abrupt. It's not uncomfortable, but it's very blocky, right? Pocket clip has some sharp, abrupt edges, but it looks cool. The entire knife flows really well. The blade doesn't overwhelm the handle. The handle doesn't overwhelm the blade. We have unique inlay positions. There's not everything needs to have a purpose, but it does all look like it goes together, especially this side. I love the pocket clip and how it flows. I really like the aluminum foil carbon fiber. I think that looks nice. Obviously added cost there, and they lay it in really nice, so that's cool. There's no contouring or no dramatic texturing or anything like that. I think I just realized I'm seeing what looks like a screw to hold in the inlay on the backspacer or something. I'm not sure how they hold that in there, but it is neat that we've got an inlay on the backspacer. That's a nice little detail. The backspacer itself is more detailed than we typically see, so I appreciate that. Pocket clip doesn't have nearly the tension you might have guessed, and honestly, in and out of the pocket is really, really good. Edge thickness, it's about medium. It'll cut just fine. It'll poke just fine. And remember, 59 HRC on M390 is not abysmal. It's just not optimal, right? I like my blades to be optimal, right? An abysmal heat treatment on M390 would be 57, 56, right? Disgusto, barfo, poo-poo town. We have to remember that a 59 HRC M390 blade, while not optimal, and I would never settle for that, and I'm going to keep complaining about it, right, is not abysmal. It's fine. It's just not really accentuating the elements of M390 and the balance of it the way that it should be, in my opinion, right? It is still just an opinion there, but I really wish that they'd bump it up. Let's see here. We cover the backspacer. No mounting position for left-handed people. Pocket clip, I think, should be a little bit shorter. There is a steel lock bar insert that doubles as the over travel stop. There is no lanyard hole. Oh no, you can attach one to the pocket clip if you want. The stops are internal. You can see their garage. They slip in for the closed position, and the open position they slip back here, which is cool. No blade play up, down, left, or right. Here's your plunge grind, by the way. No lock stick, no pivot lash. Very smooth, very consistent in here. And your detent, about medium heavy. I mean, no, not medium heavy, medium, which is how it should be for this type of deployment setup. Your centering is dead on as well. When I unboxed this, I saw the price was $327, and I was like, oh my God, no. Base price, the base model is actually $297, which is better. I'm not going to say that I love that price tag. What you're getting here is a really unique design, and it's a cool design, and I do like the design. The pricing, I'm not coming down on the designer at all. I think people have very little power over WE's outrageous pricing. I think that's just going to be the case, right? You are getting an inlay. In this case, I think in all of the versions, you're getting an inlay, and you're getting a cool, blade that, whether you love it or hate it, it is factually going to be more expensive to create than some basic drop point blade, right? Like that. I mean, I understand we're looking at an American knife here, but WE making this blade shape is going to be a lot less expensive than them making this blade shape. So there's a little bit of, a price increase for the wild blade shape and the extra machining that's required. The inlay material and the inlay itself. There's no contouring, there's no texturing, there's no real wild extra here that would be indicative of a knife that is pushing that $300 price tag. Had they, priced this thing at like $270 or so, maybe $260, like right in there, I would have been like, yeah, I think that makes a little more sense. $297, it's not the most offensive thing that WE has ever done, but it's definitely a little high. That's what I think. This is going to appeal to some people and not others, and the price is going to make, even the people that it appeals to, it's going to make a lot more of them shy away, right? This is a more unique design than we typically see. For a lot of the stuff that WE has been releasing here lately has been really boring. But every now and then they do something really wild and spectacular. This is somewhere in between. It's cool, right? I think some people will find it a little more appealing than me. If you can justify that price tag, I think you'll enjoy this knife. It is, as per usual, made very, very well. WE does not make a slack product. They make a good, high-quality product. And this is a functional cutting tool at the end of the day. It's not going to be the most convenient thing in the whole world or the most comfortable thing in the whole world, but absolutely, if you EDC'd this, I think it would treat you well for probably a lifetime. It's a good knife. It's just not it's not a knife that I'm wanting to, tell people they need to rush out and buy right now, right? If you like it, pick it up. I think you'll enjoy it. But otherwise, $300, there's a lot on the knife market right now for $300 that I'd recommend first. So this is a knife that will be given away on one of my future live streams. Thank you so much to WE Knives for sending this in. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.